What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another review. This time we're taking a look at The Mule, starring and directed by Clint Eastwood. The Mule tells the story of 80-year-old Earl Stone, who, after facing tons and tons of problems, particularly losing his house, losing his job, losing his family, becomes a drug courier for the Mexican cartel, unbeknownst to him. Okay, so I'm just gonna make this review as short as I possibly can. Highlight my negatives, highlight my positives. All right, first things first. The cast in this movie is fantastic. Clint Eastwood as Earl Stone still has a commanding on-screen presence. I really enjoyed him in this movie. He proves that even though he's a man who is in his 80s and 90s, he can still command your attention. I like the character relationships he has with some of the cast members. I like the relationship he has with his estranged wife, Mary, played by Diane Wiest. Uh, these two are very bitter towards one another, since Eastwood's character, who in his youth in this movie always chose work over his family and it fractured his family life. However, when it's revealed that the Mary character is dying from an illness near the end of the movie, they probably have the most touching and saddest scene in this whole movie. And that's when the Earl character is pretty much at his wife's bedside during her final days, and he's with her as she dies. But during that, it's pretty evident and clear that despite the bitterness and the estrangedness, they still had a love for one another, and Eastwood captured that feeling very well. He made it feel grounded and touching without being hokey and just in your face about it. And you had Diane Wiest and Clint Eastwood really selling the scene and giving really good performances, and you feel the heartbreak as well, which is what I appreciate the most. You feel the heartbreak. Brilliant directly scene. I really like it a lot. You have Bradley Cooper in this movie, plays an FBI agent who's hunting down the Eastwood character. I'm a fan of Bradley Cooper. I thought he gave a solid performance for what he was given. He wasn't really given a whole lot to do in this movie. He's just hunting down Eastwood and just having stakeouts with Michael Pena and with Michael Pena's character, but doesn't really overall do anything to like the last couple of minutes to like the last half of this movie where he and Earl finally share a scene together. And I would have had Earl and the Cooper character kind of have more scenes to really sell a parallel relationship between them. Other than that, they feel very separated till the movie decides to put them together near the end of the movie. Other than that, it feels like two separate stories, to me at least. I think that was a missed opportunity. I like the actor, I just think he could have had a lot more to do. Speaking of which, Lawrence Fishburne's in this movie. I'm a fan of Lawrence Fishburne, but this movie could have done so much more with him as well. He comes across more as a glorified cameo. I understand he's playing the director of the FBI, but I'd like to have seen him have more of a hands-on approach on the case, and pretty much have more of a relationship with with Bradley Cooper's character, kind of giving him obstacles and hurdles and stuff like that. But it just comes across. But Lawrence Fishburne's character comes across as very forgettable, and there are moments of the film when you just forget that Lawrence Fishburne's in the movie. It's really a damn shame because Fishburne's a talented actor. Andy Garcia plays the pretty much the kingpin of the drug cartel. Uh, his role is fine for what it was. He gets taken out by his own men who end up taking over the operation. So that's the extent of Andy Garcia in this movie. Nothing really happens with him. So yeah, like the movie has a very talented cast, but some of the characters and story arcs, they are just there. I guess they don't really do a whole hell of a lot. But the strongest part of this movie is pretty much Earl Stone and his character, and I think everyone else kind of suffers because of that, which is a shame because you have a talented group of actors in this thing. But on the flip side, you also have very strong relationships that get developed. I already talked about the relationship between Earl and his wife, but you also have the relationship between Earl and the enforcer of the cartel, and the kind of this mutual friendship esque he develops with a group of guys when he first goes on his first couple of runs, and they take a liking to Earl. You also have the a budding relationship with Earl and one of the underbosses of the cartel named Julio. They kind of almost start to develop a little bit of a relationship, but then it gets kind of forgotten about once the Andy Garcia character is killed off and Julio reverts back to who he was before. And he doesn't really get proper, and the Julio character doesn't really get a proper send off. Because once he goes back to being who he was when we first see him, we don't see his character again at all. His character just the movie just forgets about his character after putting a little bit of stock into a little bit of a feud between the Earl and Julio character, which starts to develop to a mutual respect until it gets pulled away. I think that was a missed opportunity as well. I would have done a little bit more with that. But from a production standpoint, this movie is really, really great. Clint Eastwood, outstanding filmmaker, even in his old age. The man knows how to shoot movies. He knows how to make them look grounded and gritty and just nail-biting edge of your seat. And this movie is no exception. It looks great. The cinematography looks beautiful. His direction is on point. The score of this movie is well done also. The story is, it's simple, but it's easy to follow. It doesn't try to cheap trick you. It doesn't try to be more than what it is. It is what it is, and you accept it for what it is. And those are pretty much all my thoughts on the Mule. After all that, I'm going to give the Mule a solid 7 out of 10. It's not one of Eastwood's best movies, but it's still a good movie that when you watch it, you're going to be very, very entertained by it. You're not going to remember it really when it's over, but when you're watching it, you're going to be engrossed by it, and you're going to feel satisfied with it. And that's the best I can give this movie. So yeah, 7 out of 10 for the Mule. Let me know your thoughts in the comment sections down below. Do you like it? Do you hate it? I would like to know. Like the video and subscribe, and I'll check you back next time for more.